G'day, g'day. How are we all? And welcome back to some mice and a car. This is going to be a car build for the Satsuma. We're going to get straight to the point. No mucking about. Before you start making the car, you want to have, food, water, supplies, just to, just so you can survive maybe the first few weeks or week of making the car. So the things you're going to need to start off before you build the car is going to be 1 alternator belt, 1 battery, 3 brake clutch fluids, 2 light bulb boxes, 1 motor oil, 1 coolant, 1 oil filter, 1 spark plug box, some fuel, and to make things a little easier, get 1 fuel mixture gauge. You can order this in the book in the garage and deliver the letter to Timo's shop to pick up later. So first things first, we're going to start with the chassis of the car. It's like the suspension and all. And up at the top right of the screen, I'm going to display the part of the vehicle and the bolt size as well, just for those who are watching the video muted, just in case, So we're going to start off with the subframe. It's going to be a 10mm, and we're going to have 4 screws to do. We're going to be using the spanner set for this as well. It's going to be a 10mm. We got 1 down here. We've got another one on the other side here as well. And this one's a little tricky, but you want to sort of glitch your head through here. And you want to sort of look for the screw that's under... Yeah, there it is. It's just under the pedal here. A little tricky to get to, but, with plenty of experience, you'll get the hang of it. Oh, there it is. There's the other screw. Yeah, pretty tricky. All right, next up is the steering rack, which is this one over here. This one is going to be a 9mm, and it's going to have also 4 screws to do in. This is going to be a 9mm with 4 screws, or bolts, I should say, sorry. Alright, now with that done, next up is the steering column, which is this one here. And pretty much we just want to line this up, sort of something like this, and pretty much, boom, there we go. All it does is just connect onto this end here, and that's going to be a 8mm. So we'll grab the 8 here, and it's going to have 2 screws that we've got to do. I keep calling it screws. I don't know why. They're bolts. There's going to be 2. There's going to be 1 under here, and there's going to be 1 just up here. Pretty easy, Up next is the wishbone, which is this one here. These connect to the subframe, and these are going to be a 10mm. Oh, the car's making a bit of noise. I think once we screw these in, the car should stop doing that. There we go. Yep, there's 2 of these we've got to do. There's a front left and front right. Alright, now with that done, next up is the spindles. There you are. I'm going to chuck you on. And the spindles is going to be a 12mm, 1 12mm bolt. There we go. Now this one's also a bit tricky to get to as well. You sort of got to it's like pretty much just down the middle here, just under the circle here, just where the spindle is. Alright, grab the other spindle here as well. Just like last time. Screw it in. There we go. Alright, now with that done, next up is going to be the steering rods, which is this one here. That's... Nope, got it wrong. Whoops. And these ones pretty much just go somewhere, yeah, right there. So they pretty much connect up with the steering rack here, and they go up to the spindle. So, same again. I'll sort of put it on this angle here. There we go. Look, see? Just connects up to there, and then comes out there. So, with that done, next up is the disc brakes, which go onto the spindles. We've got 2 of these as well. Oops. Now, these are a 14mm. There we go. And we've got 2 of these to do as well. Well, 1 each. Alright, now with the disc brakes done, next up is the half shafts, which is this one, yep. And then pretty much what we do, we want to bring it around like that. Actually, sorry, my bad. We've actually got to have these unscrewed to put the half shafts in. Sorry about that. I keep forgetting to do that sometimes. But, you know, we all make mistakes. Grab the other one here as well. I don't really think it matters too much on what angle you put it on as well. So, now with those done, we can actually screw the disc brake back in. And they will secure the half shaft in. Alright, now with that done, next up is the struts, which is like pretty much like the front suspension bit. Here we are, front left. Here's a bit of a weird angle. There we go. On the correct angle, boom, there we go. That will just spring right up just like that. We'll grab the other one as well. Car's gonna make a bit of noise here. Alright, so it's gonna be one. We'll start off with the biggest one, which is a 12 mil. And it's just this big one over here with the steering rack. And once we do that up, that should straighten up just like that. There we go. Alright, now with that done, we're gonna grab a 10 mil and we're gonna do the top ones just up here. We got 3 each to do as well. Alright, with those done as well, we have to grab ourselves a 9 mil here. And at the back here is some screws for the struts. There's 2 on each side, 4 in total per strut. So, if we just get these screwed in. Make sure everything is screwed in as well. The biggest thing you want to make sure is everything is screwed in. We've got another 2 on the other side here. And we got 4 more to do on this side as well. Alright, now with that done, next up is the trail arms. Now we're going to go to the back of the car here. And pretty much we'll chuck these in just like that. There we go. Grab the other trail arm here as well. These are going to be a 12 mil. We've got 2 bolts to screw in. They are a little tricky to get to, since, you know, not much room to work with, but there's just 2 on each side of the trail arm here. There we go. That one's done. We'll do the other one now. Alright, there we go. Now, with that done, next up is going to be the coil springs, which is this one here. And pretty much we just chuck them on just like that, and boom, the car just springs up. Got the other one here as well. There we go. Next up is the shock absorbers, which are these things here. Now, these are a little tricky to get in sometimes. You got to get it on a pretty good angle. All right, come on. There we go. Yep, boom. We'll grab the other one as well. I'll see if I can. There we go. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to screw it in. Now we've got one... we got 2 bolts that we've got to do, which are 12. I've already got a 12. But yeah, at the top of the shock absorber, there's going to be a screw that's going to appear here. Same with the other side as well. There's going to be a bolt there as well you got to do. So we'll do these ones first. Get on the other side here. Do that one. There we go. Nice. Next up is the other bolts we're going to screw in is at the bottom. And that's going to be a 6 mil. And they're pretty much just hidden under here. They're a little tricky to see. Yep, there we go. So with that done, go to the other side. And we'll screw these ones in. Alright, there we go. So, shock absorbers are done. Now, to finish off the chassis, we have to do the drum brakes. Grab the other one as well. Boom. Now for these, it's going to be a 14 Just like that. That there secures the drum brakes into the trail arm. Alright, so that's the chassis pretty much complete. The only thing we're missing is some wheels. You can either get some wheels at the from the book over there and, you know, order it through Tmall and that, or you can go to the abandoned mansion near Flatari's repair shop and you can get some for free. Now, I'm going to show you the way there. We just go into no clip here. Pretty much, we just want to go down this way. And pretty much, we want to go up to the T intersection. Up at the end of this road here. Alright, passing the train tracks. And then boom, here we are at the T intersection. Now, we want to go left. Because we're headed towards Flatari's repair shop. Alright, here we are at the cross intersection here. We don't want to go right. We could go forward, but it will take us left anyways. But we're going to go left here. Just to make it easier. Going to be going past Firewood Guy's house. Hey, how are we? There's Drunk Guy's house as well. Hey, how are we? Oh, cousin. How are we? So, passing the train tracks here. Up this little road here. Around this sketchy corner here. Here we are at Flatari's repair shop. So, pretty much, we want to continue down this road. And we want to go left. Following this sign here. Across the bridge. Up this road here. Bit of an awkward right-hand turn, but, you know. And here we are at the abandoned mansion. Now, you can get a sledgehammer or, you know, just some items in the game and glitch it through the door here. Now open. But we're not going to do that. We're going to fly straight in. Just like that. And now we've got a hornet's nest here. We want to be very careful of that. And we just want to hug the right-hand wall, really. We just want to hug the wall here to our right. Pretty simple, you know. They're not buzzing away up there, so that's good. We haven't aggroed them. And here we are. Here are the wheels that we're looking for. Now, all you can do is pretty much just chuck them out here. And you can just put them in your van. And now, just to exit, we just want to hug the wall here. Oh, they're buzzing, but I don't think they're after me. Yeah, nah, they're not after me. We're all good. So, you just want to get out of here pretty much. There we go. And now you've got your wheels. So, we're going to fly back to our house. And yeah. Alright, so with all 4 wheels that you've gotten from the abandoned mansion, it's now time to put them on. So, simply, all we got to do is come here and bam, there we go. We'll start with the back ones first. I'll do the front now. Sometimes you might have to lift up the car to actually put the wheels on. But in this case, we don't really have to. So, there we go. Alright, there we go. So the wheels are on. And to screw them on, it's going to be 13 mil here. And there's going to be 4 bolts that we got to do in. Alright, and that's the wheels all done. Now we have successfully finished doing or building the chassis for the Satsuma. Alright, now with the chassis complete, next up is going to be the engine. We're going to tuck on the light here just so we can, you know, see a little bit better. Pretty much everything that's on this shelf here is pretty much the engine. So there's a lot of parts to go through, but we should be able to do it within a couple of minutes. So, you know. First things first, we're going to make a bit of room for ourselves to work with here. We're just going to use this side of the table just to build the engine on for now. And we'll get this just somewhere out of the way. Alright, so first things first, we're going to need the block. And pretty much, you don't need anything for that. It's just simple as that. Next up is the crankshaft, which is this one here. Plonk that on. And now we are going to need the main bearings to secure the crankshaft with. There's going to be 3 of them in total. They go on just like that. And it's going to be 2 9mm. All right, now with that done, next up is going to be the pistons. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to flip the engine just over like that, and we're going to grab 4 of the pistons. There's 1. There's 2. 3. And 4. Now you may have noticed there's one piston that looks a little darker than the others. Sometimes it's, you know, it's random. One piston can be worse than the others, or they could all be decently, you know, pretty good with condition. But, you know. So next up's going to be the head gasket. This just goes right on top of the engine, just like that. And then we grab the cylinder head. And there we go. This one's going to be a 7mm. Going to have 10 screws to do up. Alright, now with that done, next up is the headers, which is this one here. Goes on the side of the engine, just like that. And that will be a 8mm. We're going to have 5 screws to do in. This one's a little tricky as well, because the screws are a little hidden. So there's one up here, and there's actually one that's just down here. Okay, you see how you got to get on the right angle to see them all, so, you know. Do this one, then we're gonna turn around here so we can see that little screw that's just under there. All right, next up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the engine on the hoist here. We want to bring this along here, just like that, and we want to just there we go. Some people get this a little confused, but what you got to do is you got to move the engine to where you hear like a cling sound. Hear it? There you go. You can hear the little cling sound, and the screws actually appear there. So all we got to do is screw it on, and bam, all connected. So now with the engine connected with the hoist, you should also be very careful when you're moving the hoist. You don't want to fling it around because you'll end up actually having the engine fly off. So you don't want that happening at all. Next up is going to be the rocker shaft, which is this one here. But that goes right on top of the cylinder head. There we go. Oh, I dropped my spanner set. That's no good. Now that's gonna be a 8mm. Yep, and then we're gonna have 5 screws to do in. Now that that's done, I would actually tune the rocker shaft and then do the rocker cover, but we're going to do the tuning a bit later on in the video, so we'll leave those untuned at the moment, but we will do all the tuning and the alignments, everything like that, near the end of the video, so stick around for that. Next up is going to be the rocker cover, which is going to be a 7mm. There's going to be 6 screws in total. 3 on each side. Alright, now with that done, next up is going to be the spark plugs that we bought from Timo's shop, which are just over here. And pretty much there's 4 in each box. There we go. We'll grab one, and we're going to go and put them in these little holes here in the cylinder head. Alright, there we go. And now to screw them on, we are going to need a spark plug wrench. And when you're doing the spark plugs up, make sure they're all the way in, because if they're not, it's just going to cause issues with starting up and all, just a whole bunch of problems, really. So you definitely want to make sure all of them are properly screwed in. Like, even if it's one click off, it will just cause problems. So make sure, double, triple check that they're all in properly. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. Next up is going to be the camshaft, which is this one here. And pretty much it goes into that little hole there. There we go. And that's going to be a 5mm. Going to have 2 screws just here. Alright, now with that done, next up is the camshaft gear, which is this one here. This one's going to be a 10mm. Now with this one, we actually have to align this one now, because we can't really do it later, because we're going to have to pull apart the engine and then redo it. But we're not going to do that. We're going to save the time, and we're going to do it now, just for everyone's sake, really. So pretty much what we want to do is we want to align this line here with this line on the block, and that with the crankshaft. You see how there's a line there? pretty much want to perfectly align it where it's just dead straight, really. If it's one over, one under, your whole engine's just gonna die on itself, really. Yep, that there is as good as it's gonna get, straight as possible. Yeah, so that's it. Next up is the timing chain. This one over here, this just goes on just like that. No bolts, no nothing. Next up's gonna be the timing cover, which is this one here. This just goes over the top, just like that. And for that, it's gonna be a 6mm. Gonna have 6 screws to do in. Alright, now with that done, next up is gonna be the water pump. Which is this one here. And this goes on just like that. And it's going to be a 7mm. There's going to be 5 screws to do in total. Alright, next up is going to be the water pump pulley, which is this one here. This just goes right on top of the water pump, just like that. And it's also going to be a 7mm here. Alright, there we go. So, next up is going to be the crankshaft pulley, which just goes on the bottom here. And that is going to be a 11mm. There we go. Alright, that's now done. Next up is going to be the alternator. We'll just chuck it right on the engine, just like that. And this one has got one 7mm bolt, which goes on the top here. It's a little tricky to see, but it pretty much is like a little arm that goes up here into the cylinder head. There we go. There's one, and there's going to be a 10mm, which is a little sneaky. You know, some people forget about this one, but pretty much it's at the back of the alternator here. So there's pretty much the bolt, and we just screw it on just like that. I actually just realized I forgot to screw in the pistons. That's awkward. We're going to do those up now. I can't believe I forgot that. But we're going to go under the engine here, and we're going to just screw these in. It's going to be a 7mm. There's going to be 2 on each piston. I can't believe I forgot about that. I think I was too focused on doing something else, and I just completely forgot to screw in the pistons. Yeah, don't do what I did. Alright, now with the pistons screwed in, next up is going to be the screwdriver. Let's see. This one here. Now, we could screw this in right now, but I reckon I might chuck on the alternator, because why not? And pretty much we want to scroll upwards where this alternator goes left. We're just going to grab the alternator here and pretty much put it on just like that. Bam, there we go. And we're going to align this as well, because we may as well since we're here. So what we want to do is pretty much we want to scroll down all the way until it stops. And we pretty much want to go back 2 times. Just like that. Just so it's where it's like perfectly in the middle. You know, not too loose, not too tight. It's funny enough, I've actually never had the alternator belt snap on me. I've never had that happen to me, where the alternator belt snaps. Alright, so next up is going to be the distributor, which is this one here. And we are just going to... And it just goes on here, where the hole is. There we go. This one will require a screwdriver. Now, I could align this one up as well, but it's a bit hard to do it when you can't hear the... You got to hear the engine. There's like a little ringing noise, and pretty much you align it where it's like... You align it and then it stops ringing, sort of thing. But we'll do that later on in the video. Alright, so next up is going to be the engine plate. I believe we're working on the other side of the engine now. This goes on just like that. Once that's done, we want to put on the starter, which goes in this little hole here on this side of the engine. There we go. And that is going to be a 7mm. Now, there is a little sneaky little bolt that we can't see from this angle, but once we turn around, you can see there's one just under there. So it's a little tricky. You can glitch the, you know... Oh, we can sometimes glitch. It doesn't want to do that for some reason. So we're just going to sort of cheat by looking inside the engine and do that screw up. This one does also require 5mm, but that's when we're doing the wiring, so we'll do that later as well. Next up is going to be the flywheel, which is this one here. Just smack that right. We'll just put this right here. That's going to be a 7 mil. Oh, we've already got that. It's got 6 screws in total. So with that done, next up is the clutch pressure plate. Pretty much we have to assemble the clutch now with this, and this. Pretty much we want to go here. Actually, hang on. Nope, sorry. We want to go there, and then we put the clutch into there. And then all we do is put the clutch disc on the flywheel, just like that. And that is going to be a 6 mil, and it's going to be 7 screws in total to do. Alright, that's done now. Next up is going to be the oil pan, and that will go on the bottom of the engine. Just like that. There we go. And that is going to be a 7 mil. There's going to be 4 bolts on each side. There's a little tricky bolt that's just hidden by the starter here, so make sure you get that one as well. Now with that done, we've got to grab a 13 mil here to do up the big bolt here on the oil pan. Got to make sure we always do that one up. Make sure it's tight as well. So if we put oil in the car, we don't want the oil leaking from the engine. So next up is going to be the gearbox, which goes on the bottom, facing this way, and this is going to be a 7 mil, and we're going to be doing up 6 screws here. But what we're going to do is we're going to do these 2 on the bottom here real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab the inspection cover. I'll tell you why in a minute. So we put that on, and now we do these. The reason why you want to put the inspection cover on first is because obviously if you screw these in first, you won't be able to put in the inspection cover. I've done that plenty of times. Alright, now with those done, we've got one more bolt to do. It's going to be a 10 mil on the gearbox. And this is also a little tricky one, which, you know, the gearbox connects into the block here. Right, so that's now done. Next up's the drive gear, which is this one here. There we go. Now it's going to have... it's going to be a 6 mil. And there's going to be 7 bolts to do. And there's just one over to the left here you got to do as well. Alright, now with that done, next up is going to be the carburetor, which is this one here. And this goes right here. Just pretty much next to the headers. This one's going to be a 8 mil. There's going to be 4 screws that we've got to do. They are a little tricky as well. So there's one here. And there's like a little one just under. Actually, you can't really see. Yeah, you can see one just here. But there's one little hidden bolt just there. Alright, now with the carburetor done, next up is going to be the air filter, which we put aside for now on the desk. That just goes on top of the carburetor just like that. And that is going to be a 6 mil with 2 bolts to do. There we go. That's done. Next up is going to be the oil filter, which we got from Timo's shop as well. And all we got to do is place it on this side of the engine, where just pretty much right here. And all we do is we hand tighten it. So we scroll up to do it up, and then down to undo. So pretty simple. Make sure it's all the way tight as well, so you don't have any oil leaking. Alright, next up is going to be the fuel pump. There we go. This one goes pretty much just here where that hole is. Boom, there we go. That's going to be a 7 mil as well. There's 2 bolts just to go down here. Alright, and that's pretty much it for the fuel pump. So yeah, that's the engine done. Now all we're going to do is put it in the Satsuma itself. So we're going to carefully move the hoist to the car. So what we want to do is we want to just pretty much straighten this up as much as possible. We want to have it fit quite nice, just so it doesn't... And when we go to put it in there, we don't want it, you know, being all over the place. We want it to be a nice straight fit in. So we're going to carefully lower the engine. Oh, phone's going off. Probably should have disconnected that before I started, but that's all right. So we're going to lower the engine in carefully. Now, you might have to adjust it bit by bit when you lower it, since it's on like a little bit of an angle. So there we go. Nice. Very nice. So what we want to do is we want to go down and have a look for screws just like that appear on the subframe. The engine's a little too forward, but I'll just show you. Yeah, see how there's screws here now? Before there were no screws, but since the engine's here, we can actually see the screws here. And there's one at the back here as well that appears. And all we got to do is grab a 11mm so we can do up those subframe bolts. There we go. Come down here and pretty much all we got to do, boom, just 2 clicks and it's secured in. But we're not done. We have to screw it all the way just to make sure it's... We're going to make sure it's properly secured to the subframe. Make sure you do this back one as well. Also, we've got to do the half shafts up as well. There we go. So, just a 9mm, and we'll do these 3 up. If you don't have these screwed in, you pretty much, your wheels won't really spin at all. So, if the car's not moving, this is why. It's probably because you don't have your half shaft connected to the gearbox. Alright, now with that done, all we got to do now is unscrew the hoist from the engine, which is a 10mm. Oh, I'm getting a bit stressed out already. Right though. So all we do is unscrew the hoist from the engine, and it should simply drop. There we go. It even made a little cling noise just to confirm that it's disconnected. We're just going to put this to the side for now, just out of the way. So that is the engine all built and installed into the Satsuma. There are going to be a few little parts we got to do, you know, connect up around the engine and stuff, but we'll do that right now. Alright, so with the engine all built and installed into the Satsuma, all we've got to do is the other engine stuff, just to pretty much complete the whole engine. So we're going to start off with the electrics, which is this one here. And pretty much these go on the left side of the car, just like that. And the electrics is going to be in 8mm. Going to have 2 screws to do up. Alright, there we go. So that's the electrics done. Next up is going to be the fuel strainer, which is this one down here. And this also goes on the left side of the car here. It's a little tricky to get sometimes, but pretty much just sits down here somewhere. There we go. That's going to be an 8mm as well. There we go. The fuel strainer is now done. Next up is going to be the radiator. Just under the shelf here. And this just goes on the front just like that. And it's going to be a 7mm. And there's going to be 4 screws in total, 2 on each side. Alright, the radiator is installed. Now we are going to hook up the hoses. Alright, so we're going to get radiator hose 1 just on the top there. Radiator hose 2. That's going to sit... This one's a little tricky to get, but we want to stick our head through here. And there's a hole just there. A little hard to see, actually. Yeah, this hole here, we just want to connect that into there pretty much. And there we go. See? Pretty much comes down to there. Now we've got to grab radiator hose 3. And this one pretty much sits, you know, it goes from that hole to this hole here. And we just want to line it up. Just like that. all lined up, all connected. And now to do up the hoses, we are going to need a screwdriver. This one we've also got to be very, very careful with because we want to make sure they're all screwed in properly. If these are not done up all the way as well, it's going to, you know, your coolant's going to leak. So you definitely don't want that happening. Double check that, you know, it's all screwed in properly because we definitely don't want coolant leaking out of a car. All right, next up is the clutch master cylinder, which is actually, that's the brake one. We might put that there. Clutch master cylinder. Pretty much this goes right here. And that is going to be a 8mm. These ones are a little hard to see as well. One on the bottom, one on the top. Now, there is another bolt for this, but we'll do that later. Once we connect up the brake master cylinder, we'll then do the lining. So, next up is going to be the brake master cylinder. There we go. This one also has 2 screws. Now with the clutch and the brake master cylinder done up, we're now going to do the clutch lining, which is this one here. And this pretty much just sits on the back like that. And we've got to do them up with a 7mm. Okay, so there's one right here. You can pretty much follow the lining, you know, all the way around here. And yep, there's the other one. So this is the screw I was talking about, how we had to do up for the clutch cylinder. Next up's going to be the brake lining. Now this one is going to have quite a few screws, so pay well attention because this is pretty tricky. I even sometimes forget to do them all up. So this one's going to be also a 7mm, and we're going to have to do 11. We're going to have to do up 11 bolts here. So there's 1. There's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. Now, pretty much this goes down to the wheel here. You see how the lining comes out here and it connects just into here. 8. Same on the other side. There's 9. There's 2 on the back as well. These ones are pretty easy to see. Pretty much where the trail arm is. There's 10. And 11. So that's the brake line and all done. So what we're going to do is we're going to make things a little easier, and we're just going to push the Satsuma into the garage here. Now it is going to be a bit tricky since we don't have the wheels, you know, aligned up. That's going to be a bit tricky, but you know, if you just be careful with it, it shouldn't be too bad. So we want to push this in far enough to where we can get in the little thingo here and out. So a little bit more. That should do it. All right, so that's all done. Now we're going to bring the spanner set back inside since the Satsuma's back in the garage. So we're going to do the fuel tank, which is this one here. Right, and pretty much the fuel tank just sits on the back here at the rear of the car. There we go. This one's going to be an 11mm. There's going to be 7 bolts we're going to do. So there's 4 on this side of the fuel tank. And we come across here, there's 3 on this side. Just to secure the fuel tank with. So we got the fuel line in here. This one is pretty tricky. Some people forget about this one as well. This one's going to be a 12 mil. And you can only do this, you know, screw up with a spanner, not a ratchet. So there you go. There's the fuel line and all done. Without that, you won't be able to get, you know, fuel flowing through the car pretty much. Next up, it's going to be the fuel tank pipe, which is this one here. This one here doesn't require any screws. It's just a simple, you know, there we go. So it goes into that hole there and connects up with the fuel tank automatically. Next up is going to be the exhaust pipe, which is just under here. Pretty much what we want to do is we just want to lift it and align it up the middle of the car. There we go. Easy as that. That's going to be a 7 mil for the exhaust pipe. So we've got one here. And then we come up to the front. And there's two right here that connect into the headers. That's the exhaust pipe done. Next up is going to be the exhaust muffler. Sometimes this will fall off, you know, first go. Or if you know, put it on a weird angle. So if it falls off, just, like, let it sit for a bit and then try it again. That's going to be a 7 mil. I think I might have a 7 mil already. Yep, I do. So that just requires one screw. Simple as that. And next up is the gear linkage. I used to have a lot of problems with the gear linkage back in the day. But I'm going to show you how it's done. So pretty much we want to have it facing this way. And this goes up to the front of the car. Somewhere around here. There we go. And pretty much just sits just under the gearbox here. The gear linkage is a 5 mil. And we're going to have 3 bolts to do in. So there's 2 at the bottom here. So there's the gear linkage. Just follow this. And then boom. There's 2 here that we've got to do. There we go. So those are done. And now there's one tricky one that's all the way just up here. And pretty much that's all you got to do. Alright, so now with that done, next up is the battery. Once again, we got it from Timo's shop. And this pretty much just sits right there. There we go. Alright, so that is pretty much it for the engine. We've hooked up the brake, clutch line in. The battery, the exhaust, all that good stuff. So next up we've got to do is the interior. So with all the other engine stuff installed, next up is the interior. So first things first, we're going to start with the steering wheel, which is this one up here. And then pretty much we just put that right there. And this is going to require a 10 mil to do up. I actually just remembered as well, I forgot to do up these bolts here. Whoops. I've already made like 2 mistakes within the tutorial so far, so yep. But yeah, these are going to require a 9 mil. Pretty much these are like the clutch and brake cylinders. I think I might have forgotten about these ones in the last tutorial, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know, I might have. But yeah, pretty much that's the brake and clutch master cylinders done. Next up is going to be the gear stick, which is this one right here, next to the old dead battery. So this pretty much connects just like that. And that's going to be a 6 mil for that one. And it's going to be 3 we're going to do, as you can see. There's one just up here. And 2 down here. Alright, there we go. So, that's done. Next up is going to be the handbrake. Just over here. Whoops, if I can grab it. There we go. This pretty much just sits right here. And that's going to be an 8 mil. And we've got 4 up at the top here. And we've got some at the bottom, which is a different size. Make sure this one's done up as well. Because sometimes if you pull the handbrake, it might fall off if it's not screwed in all the way. Alright, so with those done, there's a cheeky little screw under the car, which is a 5mm. And now pretty much there it is. So pretty much it from the back wheels, there's like a line, and it just, you know, connects straight into there. And of course that line goes up to where the handbrake sits. So there we go. That's the handbrake done. Next up is going to be the front seats of the car, which is going to be a 9mm. There we go. Here are the front seats. We'll do the passenger first. These are a little tricky to get in. They might glitch out if you don't put them in smooth enough. So just be careful of that. Oh, yep. That happens sometimes. There we go. Boom. Now there's going to be 4 in total of each seat. 2 screws on each side. The ones at the back here are a little tricky to see. You might have to just sort of move around just to get to it. There it is. Yeah, a bit tricky as you can see. And also, if these ones aren't screwed in properly, they will fall off. I've experienced that once or twice. Alright, front seats are now installed. Next up is going to be the rear seat, which is just out here. We've got to be careful with this as well. Pretty much we just go inside, just like that. And boom, that's in. It's also going to be a 9mm. There's going to be 2 screws on each side. These ones are a little tricky as well to see. There we go. That's the rear seat now installed. Next up is going to be the back panel. You can either put in this back panel or this panel here, the subwoofer one. You know, if you don't have any subwoofers, you probably should put on this one, just so it looks a little bit more clean. This one's a bit tricky to get in sometimes. There we go. You can actually spray paint that as well, so just a little tip there for you. Next up is the dashboard. Now this one is very, very tricky. You can accidentally break your windshield if you don't put this in correctly. So you got to be very careful, and it moves the car as well. There we go. I might actually put the handbrake on just so the car doesn't move. Alright, so dashboard's in. That's going to be a 10mm. We got 2 screws to do in. One in the middle here. And there's going to be one in the glove box here. Nice. So that's done. Next up is the dashboard meters. Now, what we're going to do before we install the dashboard meters is we're going to put in the clock gauge. Now, you can find an RPM one, but, you know, for the sake of the tutorial, we're going to put in a clock gauge. There we go. And pretty much we want to rotate this around, and we want to install that clock gauge, which is a 7mm. Got 2 on each end here. Alright, there we go. So, to install the dashboard meters to the dashboard, we're going to need a 6mm. And we want to carefully also put this in. Very carefully. There we go. And this one's got 2 screws that just sit pretty much where the glove box is as well. Go. Alright, next up's the radio as well. I actually forgot about this one. Doesn't matter though, you can put it in with it, you know, installed in that. So that is the interior done. Next up is going to be the exterior of the vehicle. So we're going to do that real quick. Alright, so we're going to start with the hood. There we go. Got to line this one up a bit so it can perfectly, you know, fit. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to go inside and we're going to pull the hood lock. And pretty much we can just open that up just like that, just so we can see the screws. And for the hood, it's going to be a 6mm, which I've already got. And there's going to be 4 in total, 2 on each side. Alright, so that's the hood done. So we're going to close that now. Next up's the fenders, which are these ones here. Alright, there we go. I actually should have left the hood open, to be honest. But, yep, we'll do that. Alright, so we're going to open up the hood and pretty much we'll be able to see the screws for the fenders here. Now for the fenders, it's going to be a 5mm and we have 5 screws to do. So we'll start with the top ones. There we go. So they're the top ones done. Now we've got to do the front one that just sits sort of like under the headlight here. And then we've got one real down low near the wheel pretty much. And there we go. That's one fender done. Alright, so the fenders are now done. Next up is going to be the doors. There we go. Now a little trick here is if you hold left click, it's going to fall off just like that. So a little trick here is you put it on and pretty much what you want to do is you just want to click it. You don't want to hold, you just want to click it. So it does that pretty much where it locks into place but it doesn't fall off. So you can do the same thing with the other side. You just click and boom. There you go. Easy peasy. For the doors, it's going to be a 10mm. It's going to be 4 screws in total. There's going to be 2 at the top here and 2 at the bottom. Alright, there we go. So the doors are now done. You can just double check to confirm that they're properly installed if they don't fall off. We should be right to close that actually. Right, so with the doors done, next up it's going to be the boot lid, which is a 6mm. There we go, the boot lid, what they call it. Oh, that broke off for some reason. I don't know why I did that. It's kind of random. There we go. So all we do is just we open it. You can hold left click to open it. It's not going to fall off like with the doors. And pretty much there's 2 little screws here. 4 in total. Right, with that now done, you're able to open and close that. Just like that, perfectly. Next up's going to be the bumpers. There's a rear and there's a back. I'll do the rear one first. These pretty much just sit on the bottom here. Oh, sometimes they will fall off just like that. Just give it some time so you can put it back on again. I will do the front one, I guess, since the back one fell off. And the bumpers are going to be an 8mm. There's 2 little screws that are hidden, but pretty much they're just right here. You can pretty much see where like the screw would like fit. And there we go. So that's the front one done. We'll try the back one again. Hopefully it doesn't fall off. Okay, it didn't fall off. Yeah, I don't know why it sort of fell off on me there. It was a bit random. But yeah, the back screws here are a little tricky to see. Because there's no, you can't really see where the screw fits into unless you get on like an angle. There we go. So that is the bumpers done. Next up is going to be the grill, which is a 7mm. Grill's just over here. And pretty much it just fits right there. And these ones are a little tricky to see as well. Because there's one, actually hang on. The grill's going to be a 6mm. I thought it was a 7. Nope, it's a 6mm. These just go up here like that. Little tricky to see as well because they're a bit small and they're sort of... I think they might be a bit dinted, not going to lie. They would sort of stand out a bit more, but for some reason they're not. Alright, so that's the grill done. Next up is going to be the headlights, which are these things here. Now, I'm not going to install them just yet because we want to put in the headlights first. Because we may as well... You know, since we're installing the headlights, we may as well put the bulb in. Pretty much you just put in the bulbs, just in the hole, and boom, there we go. So, we've got the right one, which is you, and then we got the left one, which is you. Now, the headlights are a 7mm. These ones are also tricky to see. You have to, you know, you can see there's one here, but the other side's a bit harder to see. But it's just a simple, you know, one on the left, one on the right. Make sure these are also screwed in all the way. Otherwise, they might not work. Headlights are now done. Next up is going to be the rear lights, which are these ones here. These ones don't require any, you know, screwing in. They just simply fit on just like that. And next up is going to be the hubcaps. These aren't really, you know, like these aren't really required, I guess. They're just cosmetic, purely cosmetic. So, you know, but we're gonna do it because why not? Boom, there we go. So that's it. The chassis, engine, exterior, interior, and pretty much the other engine parts are now complete. The Satsuma is complete, pretty much. All we got to do now is get the fluids in, tune it all up, align it, and yeah. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So with the interior and the exterior of the Satsuma done, next up we've got to do the fluids, such as the motor oil, the coolant, the fuel, and the clutch brake fluid. So let's do that now. We're going to start things off with oil. So we're going to pop that there, and we're going to pretty much pop open the hood just so we can get access to the rocket cover here. So all we got to do is take off the cover here for the rocket cover. And pretty much all we have to do is just tip the oil straight into here. Alright, so with that done, we should have a little bit more oil left in there. Not enough to fill it up completely again, I don't think. I think it's like maybe like quarter, maybe half left in there, but still. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the lid is back on nice and tight. Next up, we're going to do the radiator. So we're going to put some coolant in the radiator. Now, there is two ways of filling it up, the radiator. That's either peeing in it or putting coolant in it. But putting pee in it is the cheapest way of doing it. I don't think there's any real difference between pee or coolant. I think they have like the same value, so it's like, you know, pee is not going to be as good as coolant, you know. So for the sake of the tutorial, we're going to do coolant. Let's fill this up. All right, there we go. So this definitely has quite a lot still left in it, the coolant. What we're going to do now is we're going to close the lid. And what we should definitely check for is for any leaks. Now, I'm not seeing any little droplets from under the car there. So that means we've got no leaks, which is good. That means the oil and the coolant is all good. So next up, we've got to do the... We'll do the clutch and brake fluid. It's going to be these ones here. We're going to take off the lids for all these. There we go. So all we got to do is fill up the brake and the clutch master cylinder. Alright, these are pretty, you know, pretty quick to empty, so, you know, that's why you want to buy 3 so you can fill all of them up right to the brim. There's another one empty, and then there's one more. There we go. This should have like a little bit left in it, so make sure you keep that afterwards. All we got to do now is put the lids back on this. Alright, that's all done now. Next up is the fuel. We'll do that right now, which is on this side. Undo the cap here. Open that up, and all we're going to do is tip it up, just like that. Alright, so with that now done, let's put the lid back on this. Let's just put this over here for now. Yep, that'll do. And there we go. That's all the fluids done for the Satsuma. So we've now got oil, coolant, brake, and clutch fluid, and we've got fuel. So with that done now, next up is the tuning and the alignment. So let's do that right now. So, alrighty then. So with all the fluids done, next up is the tuning. We're going to start off with the steering rods, which is pretty easy to do. So what we want to do is grab a 14 mil here. Oh, that's a 13, 14. And pretty much we're going to align the 2 front wheels here. Just by looking at it, you know, head on, it's clearly not very well aligned on both sides, as you can see. So what we're going to do is we're going to go under the car, and I'll show you pretty much what we're going to do. So pretty much we're looking for a nut to do up here, which is this one here. And this is the steering rod right here. And pretty much we want to align this. Same with the other side as well. Both sides do need, you know, adjusting. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to scroll down all the way until it stops moving. You can just see how the wheel slightly moves every time you scroll down. And as you can see, that's it's no longer moving. So pretty much what we want to do is we want to scroll up now 60 times, exactly 60 times. If it's off by 1, it might be a little weird, but make sure it's 60 on the dot. Otherwise, it's not going to be pitch perfect. So let's scroll up 60 times then. All right, so that's one side done. Let's now do the other side. All right, there we go. So the steering rods have been aligned. Now, if we come up here and have a look at the wheels, you can see that is pretty much spot on straight right there. Let's check the other side as well. Yep, that's as good as it's gonna get, really. So yeah, that's the steering rods complete. Let's now move on to the rocker shaft. Now, with the rocker shaft, it's gonna be a little bit advanced. So what we want to do is we want to grab a 7mm and undo the rocker cover here. All right, there we go. So with the rocker cover now off, let's grab a screwdriver and let's adjust the rocker shaft. So what I find works is that I scroll down on every single valve until it stops moving, and I scroll up 7 times. So with all the valves now all the way down, we're going to go 7 clicks up. All right, there we go. So you can get a little bit more, like, you know, advanced with the tuning of the rocker shaft, but we're gonna keep it simple for this tutorial. So that is the rocker shaft all aligned. So what we're gonna do now is pop on the rocker cover, grab a 7mm, and screw the rocker cover back on. Alright then, so that's half of the tuning done for the Satsuma. We got to do the other half when we get the car actually running, because we've got to set up the distributor, which for us to be able to tune the distributor, we need the engine running so we can actually hear it doing the little ringing noise. And for the carburetor, we need the fuel mixer gauge, and we need to actually get the car running for us to set up the fuel mixture. So we're going to leave the tuning at a halt at the moment, and we are going to go do the wiring right now. Alright, so now with half of the tuning complete, we are now going to move on to the wiring. So, first things first, let's open up the hood. And before we actually start doing any wiring, we should probably do some preparation before we do that. And that is, we've got to sort of disassemble a few things. I think it's like 2 things, really. That is the starter. We only have to remove one nut here, which is this one. 1 bolt, I mean. There we go. All we got to do is just remove that. And we've got to remove the headlights. I also just remembered you've actually got to remove the grille to remove the headlights. So let's do that real quick. There we go. So the grille's off. Headlight. Oh, that happens sometimes. There we go. Alright, so with the headlights now off and one of the bolts undone for the starter, we are now ready to do some wiring. So the wiring mess is just on the shelf here. And pretty much, let's start with the fuel tank, which is pretty easy, like the rear of the car. Right, so what we want to do is we want to go here, and there's like a little hole here, and then pretty much all we do is we press F, not left click or right click, we press F. And all we got to do is connect that to the rear harness connector. And you can hear that there's like a little connection, like noise, and in the wire appears. So that means you've successfully, connected it up. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna go rear harness connector to rear headlight right, to that one, and to the left. There we go. So that is pretty much the rear of the car done for the wiring. And now we're gonna move on to the more advanced part. So we're gonna start with the headlights as well. So just here, under the battery, there's a front lights connector. Pretty much we just go there, and we go there, and we'll do the same again. Oh, I just knocked something out. I think that was the battery. Yeah, that's all right. That happens sometimes when you knock into the car. Again, we go with the front light connector to the headlight. So that's the headlights now done. Back to the front lights connector. And we connect that to the main harness connector. There we go. There's that. Next up is the main harness to the regulator, which is this one here. There we go. Then we go main harness connector to the positive terminal. Then the main harness connector to the ignition coil, which is that one. Main harness connector to the radiator. There's a little connection point somewhere. Yeah, it's somewhere. Yeah, it's right there. So we just connect that up. There we go. That's the radiator hooked up. All right, so we're going to move on to the fuse box, which is inside the car. Fuse box is pretty much just under here. If we glitch our head through this, that's pretty much the fuse box. So we're going to go fuse box to instrument panel 1, which is this one here. Pretty much that just connects to like this stuff here. Next up is fuse box to ignition switch. There we go. And then fuse box to instrument panel 2. There we go. Then radio harness, which should be somewhere around here. Yep, radio harness. That's probably it there. To the radio. There we go. Now we go to the dash harness connector, which is somewhere here. I think that might be it. Yep. Dash harness connector to the light switch, which is this here. A bit hard to see because of the, what's it called, it's popping up. There we go. That's the light switch now connected. So, with our air fuel mixture gauge, let's just put pretty much all we do is we go dash harness connector to the AFR gauge. And there we go. We'll hook up the starter now. So, what we want to do is we want to go positive terminal here to the starter. Not the battery ground connector, but the starter. There we go. And then we do the negative terminal, and that goes to the battery ground connector. And to finish things off, we do regulator to the alternator, which is there. Boom. I did also forget the battery, so let's do that real quick. It's going to be an 8mm. So there's a way to do up the battery. So when you do the battery up, you go positive to negative. And then when you're undoing the battery, you do negative to positive. We'll do positive and then negative. So if there's any sparks that's coming off, that means you're doing something wrong. So I just did the battery up then with positive and then negative. And if I was to take off the battery, I would do negative first and then positive. That is everything for the wiring complete. Let's chuck on the headlights and the grill. Alright, and to finish off with the wiring, let's grab ourselves a 5mm here. And let's screw the... There's a little screw that we got to do for the starter. That's a new screw. That's what goes from the negative terminal into the ground, or into the starter, I mean. Or the positive, actually. And then we'll grab a 7 to do the battery ground. And boom, there we go. That's all the wiring now complete for the Satsuma. Alright, so that's all the wiring done for the Satsuma just to get it running. There are other like things to wire up, like the subwoofers, the little lights that sit down here, and I think some other stuff as well. But that's pretty much just like the stock wiring, just to get the car running, pretty much. There's also some mud flaps that I forgot to put on as well, so, you know, make sure you put them on. They're only cosmetic, but still, they look quite nice on the Satsuma. So, with all the wiring done, let's now try to start the Satsuma. Before we get the Satsuma started up, let's grab a screwdriver and let's hop inside. We might pop open the hood just so we can, you know, get access to the carburetor and the distributor so we can tune it. Let's see if she starts. Let's pull the choke. All right, key in the ignition. Yep, got electrics. It's all working. That's good. Start her up, eh? See how she goes. Oh, that was the starter grinding. That's what happens when you got a poor quality starter. So let's try again. Oh. We have ignition. Alrighty. Yeah, the car started. That's great. Honestly, that's great. So yeah, we have ignition. It took a while to start. I think that happens like just normally when you start up the car for the very first time. So a few things we want to check first is we want to check the alternator belt. Just double check that that's all moving pretty well. There's no like, it's not bumping around. It's all straight. That's good. Let's tune the distributor since, you know, we have a screwdriver. So let's just undo that like twice. And let's scroll down a bit. So pretty much we're looking for exactly when it stops ringing. So we'll do a little bit of clicks. Move it up bit by bit until it stops ringing. So yep, there we go. And then boom, that's pretty much the distributor all tuned up. So That's all done. We got to tune the carburetor next, but let's let the car warm up first. All right. So with the car all warmed up, let's now put the choke back in, and we're currently running at about 14, which is not too bad, but I would like to have it a little bit better. Preferably, I think 14.6 is pretty good. You know, it runs all right with 14.6. Okay, that was the wrong way. So 1, 2, 3. So that's like the normal. So we're gonna go 3 clicks. So 1, 2, 3. See where we're at here. Yeah, we could probably go up by 1 more, maybe. Let's try 2, just in case. Okay, that's 14.7. That's not too bad. I think it's either 14.6 or 14. There we go. So 14, we'll have it at 14.7. And there we go. That's pretty much the carburetor now properly tuned, and the distributor. So the tuning is all now complete for the Satsuma. The smoke is now like a clear sort of like white. So that's good. That means it's, you know, the exhaust smoke is good. And yeah, there we go. We now have a running Satsuma. We're not getting any noises from the distributor, the rocker shaft. Nothing. We've tuned it to the best of its abilities. Well, not exactly the best, but just like a stock sort of tune, I guess you could say. But yeah, let's give her a test drive, eh? All right. Here we go. Yeah, it's really nice and smooth too. It's not really chuggish at all. It's actually quite smooth, in fact. The wheels are properly aligned. We're not going too far left, too far right. It's like perfectly in the middle. Satsuma build for 2022. Let's chuck a Yui. Let's get back home, and then let's wrap up the video, eh? So there it is, fellas. There is the Satsuma, all built. Looking not the best, I guess, but, you know, it works. It's pretty stable for now. So that there is the Mysuma car build 2022 guide. So I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful. You know, I'm hoping you can build your Satsumas using this guide. So I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful. And, you know, I'm hoping you guys can make your Satsumas using this guide. If you enjoyed this tutorial, be sure to like. Comment down below if you want to see some more tutorials. I am planning to do some in the future, but if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. Honestly, I had a lot of fun building this car. You know, it's a lot of fun building the Satsuma in this game. I've built it many, many times, and I've enjoyed pretty much every time building the Satsuma, and this was a lot of fun. You know, I know this video was like really late. I was actually supposed to upload this like September, sort of October, you know what I mean? I was supposed to upload it then, but I've just been really busy lately. I've only just got to upload it in like December. So, but yeah, thank you all so much for watching. You know, yeah, 2022 was a bit of a crazy year for my channel, you know, and I'm excited to do a lot more tutorials in the future for this channel. And I really appreciate all the support from everyone who's been subscribing, just showing all the love and support, really, for the channel. So, thank you all so much. Also, I just forgot a major thing for the Satsuma, and that is the Xmas lights. Let's go. I can't believe I forgot about these, but there we are. Perfect thing for the Satsuma. So, Merry Christmas, fellas. So yeah, this has been Mysuma Satsuma car build 2022. Thank you for watching. This is YEETy, signing off. See you guys.